Hello, everyone. It is a pleasure to welcome you all to our webinar, Hilton Strategic Transformation of Salesforce Development Workflows and Data Management. As you all would be knowing, Salesforce offers extreme flexibility, but that also means that these customizations bring a lot of chaotic nightmares with them. As a solution, we do have Salesforce DevOps, which brings order to this chaos. How do they do that? By automating the development lifecycle and also having a dedicated data backup platform. This helps global companies like Hilton take complete control of their development and data. I'm Disha Thakkar, Director of Product Marketing here at Flosum, and we are going to touch base on all of these topics today. But before we start, just a few housekeeping rules. Please use the Q&A tab to post your questions. Also, we'll be sending you all a recording of this session, but we urge you to stay till the very end. We promise you this will be an informative session. Plus, we also have an amazing incentive. Attend this webinar till the end and a few of you will have the chance to win a $50 gift card. Now joining me today, I'm super excited to introduce our guest, Rajith Medagani from Hilton. Rajith is a seasoned Salesforce professional with a proven track record of success in improving user experiences at Hilton. He is a passionate advocate for team development and mentorship. He firmly believes in collaborative and positive work environment where individuals can thrive. He is a firm believer of user-centric approach to business development, and he always finds innovative ways to enhance and improve user experience at Hilton. A very warm welcome to you, Rajith, and thanks for taking this time to talk to us.
Thank you for having me, Disha.
So, Rajith, how would you describe the Salesforce environment or the Salesforce development at Hilton 4 years back when you just joined Hilton?
Sure. Quick correction, Disha. I joined 6 years ago. 4 years is when we started the automation. So I would say the journey that, can you guys hear me? Sorry, it seems there's a echo.
Yes.
If you can, if anybody is not talking, can you please mute yourself so that we don't hear any echo? So when I first took over this position at Hilton, we were a fairly young team. There were 2 developers that were available. And then just like any other typical Salesforce initial implementation, all the processes were manual through change sets or somebody doing declarative deployments and all the fun manual steps that are involved in the DevOps process from 6 years ago in Salesforce. So we have come a long way. However, the transition has been a eye-opening and very, very interesting journey. If I were to explain what the journey was, I would divide it into 4 different phases. The initial phase, the transition phase, the adoption stage, and also our current maturity level that we are at. At the initial stage, as I was mentioning, it's all manual, either using change sets or our IDE tools that we were going to use to manage the deployments and DevOps processes. And these deployment processes were very tedious. We didn't have any version control at all. Developers were overriding each other codes. The typical problems that we see with manual deployments. Then we actually started adopting as we grew as a company. The approach was working fine initially with the 2 or 3 developers, but as the platform naturally progressed into next level, the adoption was growing. We were actually scaling the platform. We were in a transition phase where we wanted to adapt more automated workflows, but we were not big enough to purchase a tool to start doing it. So what we did was we standardized the workflow. That's the transition phase I would call, which is also our extremely learning phase of what automation tool we were supposed to have. And then the next phase was to adopt a DevOps tool that actually fits into the needs based on what we have learned and understood of our needs in the initial 2 phases. And the current maturity level that we are at is to use the tool that we have actually adopted to run some advanced automation and continuous improvements over the tool that we have procured, which is Flowsum is the DevOps tool that we are currently using. So we are at a level where we are currently using the tool for the fullest potential and automating a bunch of our workflows, whether it's peer reviews, pipeline deployments, daily deployments, continuous integration, even exploring options on testing, automated testing through the pipeline methodology. So that's where the current maturity level is for us.
So you rightly mentioned and talked about the maturity level. Okay, so looking back, this is what you described, that you started with a very primary level of DevOps implementation. Now, if you have to describe Hilton's journey in this past 4 or 6 years, how have you progressed? What's your current maturity level in terms of defining it, if you have to define it?
So as I was just saying a little while ago, right? So today we operate at a more mature and robust automated DevOps framework, unlike where we started off. And our focus is to leverage all the advanced features provided by the DevOps tools like Flowsum, which include end-to-end automation or real-time monitoring or proactive issue resolution, or all of these features and functionalities and the framework that enables us to be faster, nimble, agile, and also be reliable at the same time. As I said, we started off with one release at a time to now at any given point in time we have 7 big projects running in parallel with 60 developers across the board. So the framework that we have built, with the features and capabilities provided by tools like Flowsum, enabled us to scale at that rate, right? So in this 6 years.
So for organizations like yours, what is that one piece of advice that you would want to offer who wants to fast track the DevOps maturity and not wait for 6 years?
Sure, fair enough. I think one good thing in especially in the DevOps phase is, right, it's not that everybody has to go through like 6 years transformational phase or anything. It's the idea, when we talk about our journey to succeed in these DevOps processes, you don't have to necessarily spend ample time in figuring out what you need to do. The only advice that I would give is be very strategic, right? So and also start off the methodology with the automation in your mind, that at some point, because typically the DevOps processes are a majority of the areas that you have to focus are repetitive and for tedious jobs, and those can be automated. In today's day and world, they can be automated pretty easily. So one key piece of advice is to prioritize adopting automation tools tailored to your workflows as early as possible in your DevOps journey, right? Start by identifying those repetitive, error-prone manual processes and replace them with automated solutions, or at least list them out so that you can identify a tool that actually helps you get there. And also ensure these tools integrate well with your existing systems and promote, team collaboration, which is extremely important, I would say.
So I can summarize that automation and right tool selection is the name of the game to fast track any of the DevOps journey. Fantastic. So let's move away from DevOps and let's talk about Salesforce data management. Understand that at Hilton, that is also what you are responsible for. So why did Hilton think that they needed a data strategy or data backup strategy as well?
Sure. So as you all know, Hilton is a global company, and it's one of the topmost hospitality companies in the world. With that, our customer base, whether it's our internal team members, who we have close to 400,000 users, And we also have across the globe millions. We just touched 200 million honors enrollment. So that's the scale that we are playing with, and the broader scope too. When all of these come into picture, having a data strategy is extremely important, right? For there are multiple dimensions to data. The areas that our team specifically focuses on operational data for internal, and then there are 4 key pillars for our data backup solutions that we are using, which determines what tools we pick and why we need what we need, and make sure those 4 pillars are in impact. The business continuity and data protection is the prime objective of entire Hilton organization, especially when the data is surrounding around consumers or operational data, whether it's member-facing or internal-facing. If we treat the data equally. Compliance and regulatory requirements, as all the big organizations, many of you already know, that data compliance and regulatory requirements are becoming stringent and stricter every day in all good intentions and purposes. So adhering to those compliance and regulatory requirements is utmost important for us. Not just that, that these are increasing day by day, but I think since we are integrating into multiple systems, the potential of human errors and conflicts were significantly higher. This necessitated us to rely on a very reliable backup plan, and also ensuring data integrity for our customers' trust. Customer trust is at most important and at the core of any organization, especially the organizations like ours who our entire business runs on customer satisfaction, right? So giving the reliance on manual updates and in terms of updates that we are getting, maintaining the accuracy and availability, especially the data around Salesforce, is vital to uphold the trust and deliver consistent experience across the board for us. So based on these 4 key pillars, we have placed data strategy to be the prime driver, especially like platforms like Salesforce, where it's a SaaS-based solution. Unless there is a devised strategy that enables us to actually make the data reliable and secure, the adoption and the trust goes away. So
you talked about a very important topic, that is security and compliance. Okay, I would like to ask one detailed question around it. How are you currently securing data as well as development at Hilton right now?
Absolutely, that's a great question. I think it's a good segue from coming from the data and securing and reliability and the trust that we built, right? So security is the heart of any application that we build at Hilton. The way that we are actually ensuring that we are adhering to the modern standards of security, for whether it's big data, whether it's our code base or any declarative components that are part of the application, is extremely critical for us. And the way that we enforce all of these is standards, or by strengthening our authentication mechanisms. We have implemented single sign-on and multi-factor authentication to enhance access controls, ensuring only authorized personnel access that. Platform encryption has been key to our implementation especially on Salesforce platform. The platform encryption is leveraged to protect the data at rest and also in transit, by adding an extra layer of security for our critical customer and business information. Collaborating with certified partners like Flowsum, who have achieved the latest security certifications, ensuring solutions and practices align with the industry standards and also best practices. That gives us the additional level of reliability and cushion to depend on, so that not just our internal application, but any partners that we work with are also equally compliant. And also improving compliance through formal data backup strategy has been one of the other pillar that I would like to highlight. Is this helps us streamline compliance-related process by providing auditable and secure data archivals. This has simplified our regulatory reporting and also ability to swiftly audit and maintain the operational integrity of the entire data set.
So, Rajit, I'm curious. Okay. And this question may not be here, but I'm curious and I want to know that our audience would also be curious. How has this shift been for Hilton, for your team, before incorporating data backup strategy and now after incorporating data backup strategy in terms of ROI or in terms of productivity or the easiness in day-to-day life, anything if you want to highlight?
Absolutely, I can definitely answer that question. The solutions that we have, again, just to let us know, let the audience know, and you all know, is that especially in the area of the data backup solutions, we have explored multiple solutions, right? So we, from the day one, the platform's existence, backup solutions have transitioned and moved from phase to phase in our ecosystem, where we started relying on internal manual backup processes, then moved to own backup, then finally ended up with Flowsum. The reason for this journey and the heart of everything that we have made a conscious decision to do is, one that you have said, is our team is very small team. Like we focus on maximizing the resources that are at our disposal to make sure we are more productive, we're doing the right thing, and also it's reliable and consistent, right? So the manual process were working fine, but they were too laborious, labor intensive. Especially the recovery process was not giving us any efficiencies. We were at any given point in time, we were relying on Salesforce, export into a backend databases to weekly up exports, and also manual exports have been the process for first couple of years when we didn't have any of the tools. But we started slowly realizing that the small team that we have available, these kind of repetitive, unintuitive processes are kind of hitting the productivity for us, where the time could have been more focused on enhancing and helping the external users, whether it's building new features on the platforms or stabilizing the system or focusing on other areas of the department. So we started exploring the solutions to automate. Our key areas that we wanted to focus on was to reliability, ease of use, was the very prime target for us, because as we were saying, the ROI and the productivity were the key foundation for data backup processes. Just we know from Salesforce platform's perspective, the hierarchy structure and the relative data relationships were also critical components to keep the structure in place. With the manual processes, it was challenging to relate the data back. Whereas if we use tools like Flowsum, everything is automated and everything is at your disposal with one click of a button. The productivity, we don't even have to think about it, right? So all we need is a couple of clicks and our data is either backed up, archived, or retrieved in seconds. So that's the efficiency gain that I would say is very, very valuable than anything else that I've seen so far.
That's amazing, first of all. And now the last question. Given the presence of numerous Hilton offices worldwide, how does Salesforce Center of Excellence, or Salesforce COE as we rightly term it, expand across different Hilton business units? And especially my question is, how to ensure that there is data security and compliance everywhere, not at one Hilton office, but everywhere worldwide?
Sure. So when it comes to Salesforce Center of Excellence, although our platform is 6 years old, we have had other platforms at Salesforce that are even older, and they've been in existence. We recently started, building our Center of Excellence. We recently launched it, actually announced it last year. The framework, Center of Excellence is a framework that has to be defined based on the organizational needs. It could mean different things for different people. But I think for us, what we have done is to build a framework that is more collaborative and impactful, yet not aggressive, so that we don't control everything that is happening at individual or org level or platform level. So the idea was to have a robust governance and alignment across global Salesforce platform operations. Not the business operations, but the platform operations is the key word that I would like to emphasize. Centralizing the governance framework. As part of our framework, we are working on defining unified policies and guidelines for data security and compliance to be implemented across all Salesforce instances. This is extremely important because Hilton has been traditionally using traditional technologies like homegrown solutions, but although we've been moving towards more cloud-based solutions, whether that's our infrastructure or any other solutions, but we're still at the infancy of adopting these technologies. So we have started realizing that these frameworks are extremely important. Then the second piece is localizing implementation with global oversight, right? So the COE is working to enable localized adoption of Salesforce practices to meet business unit specific regulations while maintaining consistency throughout the central oversight, and also securing secure access control mechanisms, right? That's one of the other areas that I've already touched, is to ensure data protection. We are considering a unified approach to secure access controls as well, whether it's coming up with an architecture to implement the security framework based on profiles and permission sets within the system, or adopting or including single sign-on and multi-factor as the basic requirements for the platforms across all the instances of Salesforce. The next one is standardizing data backup and recovery processes, moving from security to data backup, as I was saying. We're also formalizing the process to adopt the methodologies that we have learned on one instance to preach and teach the other areas. And we've been successful in pushing this out, working with the partners to establish a common way of standardizing the backup and recovery processes. We are halfway there. We're extending that to the rest of the areas too, so eventually we'll get there. And the last one, but not what very critical and important one, is regular training and collaboration across the instances. The COE is planning to conduct regular training sessions, promote collaboration among the business units and the technical departments that are supporting these platforms, to ensure all teams understand and comply with security and regulatory requirements.
So thanks, Rajith, for sharing such wonderful insights with us. Sure. Now, audience, with this, I'd request you all to please post your questions here in the Q&A panel at the bottom of your screen. In the meantime, a quick glance through about Flosum. So Flosum is the leading end-to-end secure DevOps, data management, and data protection platform. Flosum DevOps platform, it is built 100% native on Salesforce. Flosum is widely trusted and deployed across enterprises globally, such as 3M, Snowflake, Cushman & Wakefield, L'Oreal, Citibank, GE Healthcare, Cargill, and many more such names are there. We are a Salesforce Summit partner, which is the highest tier in the Salesforce Partner Program. We are continuously recognized as leader in G2 and AppExchange. With this, let me open up the floor for Q&A session. Okay, so Rajith, just hold on while I open up the Q&A panel for me.
Sure.
Okay, so the very first question here is, this is a question and someone is asking that we are just starting out with Salesforce. So first of all, should we have DevOps within our Salesforce, and what are the criteria to decide that?
Absolutely. That's a great question, right? So I think you are in the same situation as we were 6 years ago. And that's the dilemma we all start off with. My recommendation is that at DevOps, so there is a clear-cut distinction between a strategy versus a tool, right? So I think the tool is a mechanism that you implement your strategy. The way that I would implement if I were to do all over again, or if I was starting afresh, is to have a strategy. The tool plays a critical role in enabling your strategy, but I think depending on the size, the parallel projects that you're doing and the scale of the platform that you have, devising a strategy which includes your deployment processes, the release cycles that you're going, the number of developers that are concurrently working on similar items, all of these key elements play a role in devising your strategy. And then once you devise your strategy, a tool will enable that strategy. So the first place that you start looking at is to devise a strategy, I would say.
Okay. There's one more question. It's like we have a huge budget constraint. Do you think that we should start building the entire deployment process on our own, or do you think that we should use some tools?
Sure. So budgetary constraints, organizations always come across these things, right? I would say that a bunch of these things, as I was trying to say, right? The focus on the strategy. Strategy doesn't cost you money other than your time, right? So learning from your team, understanding your needs doesn't cost you money. I think understanding that is the critical step. So if you're really tight on budgets, what you can do is there are a bunch of tools that are available to enable you to do certain things, whether it's deployments, whether it's source control. There are a bunch of open source source control that you have available for you to do. Although it alleviates some of your pain points instantaneously, you don't have to necessarily really focus on the budgets when you devise your strategy. If you need help devising a strategy, all you need to understand is what your needs are, what your team size is, how many projects that you're running, what are the complexities of these release streams that are going. You can optimize some of those. You can use open source tools that will help you mitigate some of these. Eventually, once you start learning how these things are playing around, you can then start on thinking about making investments into tools that will help you support all these strategies that you are building together.
We have time to take one more question. What is the ideal time taken to deploy a user story from start to end to another target, or by following all quality steps?
Yes. So I think it might sound cliche, but it all depends on what your user story definition is, what your processes are, right? I have seen deployments that are being done anything from 3 hours to all the way up to 3 months, right? So it all boils down to what your size of the user story is. What are the mechanisms that you have? If there is a declarative change that does not need any oversight, and you already have discussed your design elements with the dev team and it's built to the specs, it could take 3 hours and fix it and deploy the user story. But if you are really working through end-to-end process, a lot of segments that play into the role, how long it takes to groom, get the details, design your solution, develop that, push it through your CI/CD process to actually do the deployments. As you design your deployment strategy, that starts from the time that you check in the code all the way to the deployments. If you use tools like Flowsam, the deployment process is instantaneous, right? And you can build it how you want based on the features like pipeline deployment automations that will help you run the course, whether you want to have peer review in place, code merges in place, run test automations. All of these will play a key role in how long the duration is going to be, but it can be done as soon as like 3 hours, including deployments, to anything between 3 to 4 months, depending on the size of the user story that you're running. I know it's not an answer, but I think it is the fact or practical approach that you take defines how long it's going to take.
So thank you so much, Rajith. We have received many questions today, but due to the time constraint, we are not able to address them all. We ensure that we'll reach out to you with the answers to your question if it is not anonymous, because we then don't know how to reach out to you, but we'll try to reach out to you as soon as possible with the answer. Also, you can mail us, as you can see here, you can mail us at hello@flowsum.com with any of your questions, or for booking one-to-one conversation as well, just to understand few of the things around Salesforce. We hope that you have learned and enjoyed this presentation as much as we both did. Have a great day. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.